Happy Friday. Brian Manning here with the weekly update. Let's get right to it. So, Monday this week was quiet day because it was President's Day and markets were closed. It's like a national holiday in Colorado because so many people go skiing, although unfortunately the roads were not so great this weekend. But I hope anyone that took off for the holiday weekend had a great time. Tuesday this week, relatively quiet news day, not a lot to talk about there. Wednesday is definitely the big day of this week. So the first thing we got on Wednesday was called housing starts. So this looks at new houses that were started for new construction. The media just tore this up because it was down 9.8% on a month-over-month basis. But if we look at this very closely, this is a comparison of the prior months. So this was data for the month of January. This is a comparison back to the month of December. And in December of 2024, housing starts were the second strongest month of the entire year. So not surprising to see in the month of January a lower number for housing starts. So I've said this before, you got to watch the media. You got to be careful what you pay attention to because they love the doom and gloom. Sometimes you just got to tear it apart and really take a look at it. Probably the biggest news of the week, though, was Wednesday, Federal Reserve minutes. So at the conclusion of a Federal Reserve meeting, several days later, they released the minutes. This is really a detailed information on what they talked about. And what's most important here is they talked about the stopping of the balance sheet runoff. So if we go back to COVID, Federal Reserve stepped in at that point in time because it was an economic threat. They implemented what's called quantitative easing. So quantitative easing was the growing of their balance sheet, and they were buying mortgage-backed securities along with U.S. Treasuries. Then they got to a point that they said, okay, no more quantitative easing. Then you get what's called quantitative tightening. In the case of the Federal Reserve, quantitative tightening means not only are they not buying mortgage-backed securities, but their balance sheet had swelled so large with mortgage-backed securities, now they were selling them off into the marketplace. And about mid last year, they made some adjustments, and I believe that their adjustments had them selling on a monthly basis a maximum of $35 billion in mortgage-backed securities and $30 billion in U.S. Treasuries. Well, Scott Bessent came out this week and is kind of supported along with the Federal Reserve and the minutes and said, hey, and this is really specifically tied to the Federal Reserve, hey, we're going to stop our quantitative tightening. In fact, we're going to stop the runoff of the balance sheet, which is really important news for us. And likely we're going to do this the middle of 2025. So this is the first time recently they attached a date to when they're going to stop the runoff of the balance sheet. So what that means is as homes get sold, as mortgages are refinanced, and those mortgage-backed securities are satisfied that the Federal Reserve owns, that they're not going to run them off the balance sheet. They're not going to repurchase new ones. They are going to take that money, though, for securities and repurchase treasuries, which is really important. So normally if it was quantitative easing, they would be buying more securities as far as mortgage-backed securities and treasuries. Right now, they're not going to go to that extent. But if they do stop the runoff of the balance sheet middle of this year, and then they start reinvesting that money back into U.S. treasuries, and the yield moves lower on the 10-year treasury, mortgage rates will eventually follow suit. So the bond market like that this week. If we look at the bond markets, we saw mortgage rates improve this week because we've been waiting for quite a while to get feedback from the Federal Reserve as far as when we think they're going to stop this runoff of the balance sheet. And we got it this week, which is great to see. That's really the big news of the week. I'm around all weekend. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm available 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Realtors, we are wrapping up winning the listing presentation. We've done 6 of these presentations right now. We're going to do them again in Boulder, Denver, Fort Collins, and Colorado Springs, and then we're done. After that, we're going to come out with fresh new content. Our next presentation is going to take place in Boulder in 2 weeks. It's about half sold out. If you're going to make it, please RSVP. All of these classes have been selling out. We would love to see you there. Hope you have a great day.